You find your adventures in the woods. They've been on the road for about 5 days now, and they feel a little bit lost in this maze of trees. The ranger up ahead says, "I think we have found our way out," but then pauses, puts her hand up and says, "But this just doesn't feel right." You notice the same thing. The birds have stopped singing. The forest has grown eerily quiet. Suddenly, a gust of wind comes over your shoulder, and the ground trembles at your feet. The ranger turns around, her eyes widen, and she is petrified with fear. You have to find out what she is scared of, and you turn yourself and find an adult green dragon 20 feet in front of you. Its wings are open wide, and as they close, it says, "Why are you here?" The paladin sheathes his sword, puts his shield on his back, walks up to the ranger, and she feels relieved for that moment. He takes 2 more steps forward and says, "We are looking for Shieldheart. He has some answers to give us for what he has done." The dragon responds, "It looks like you have more problems than just Shieldheart. Now don't you?" You have just entered into the Tyranny of Dragons, the Horde of the Dragon Queen, and the Rise of Tiamat. Hi, my name is Bo, and this is Critical Masterpiece. Today on Critical Masterpiece, I'm going to be discussing 6 different topics that will help you engage your players in a compelling campaign about a group of cultists that are running through the land of Faerun and are trying to summon a demigod by the name of Tiamat. The first thing that we want to discuss is how these 2 books relate to each other. The first is Horde of the Dragon Queen. That is for levels 1 through 7. The second is Rise of Tiamat. That is 8 through 15. Now we're going to get into that a little bit more later, but this is a campaign that the players are going to be chasing after a bunch of cultists that are trying to summon Tiamat, a demigod from the first layer of the 9 hells. She has 5 heads, a red, a green, a blue, a black, and white. That brings us to topic number 2. What kind of character classes do you want to have in this campaign in order to have a well-rounded group? The first is a paladin. Paladins are awesome because they have the ability to take a hit, they have an aura that negates frightful presence, and they also have the ability to give players a chance to roll an extra dice in order for ability checks. Second are rangers. Rangers have the ability for favored enemy. They also have favorite terrain, and they have knowledge about creatures that are their favorite enemy in order to track them well and get information that other players may not have or may not have read up on in other cities or towns. The third are rogues. Rogues are character classes that give the group an advantage on finding out information, sneaking into different places, and having burst damage that other players don't necessarily get when attacking. The fourth is a barbarian. Now, I discussed in my last video about how barbarians or fighters are almost equal in the stats of being a meat shield, but the problem with a fighter is that once he or she is hit, her hit point pool is about the same as either a druid or a rogue. This means that they will fall a little bit sooner than a barbarian. Barbarians, once they are raging, have double the hit point pool and therefore are able to withstand multiple attacks from dragons. These breath weapons are devastating. And the difference between a fighter and a barbarian is a fighter can withstand 1 or 2 hits from a breath weapon. A barbarian can withstand 5 or 6 hits before he or she falls to the ground unconscious. The fifth is a monk. Now, we're going to talk later about what levels you want these characters to end at when you're fighting the final boss. But when you get up into the higher levels of a monk, monks have the ability to be almost completely immune to every kind of damage that a dragon or other creatures are going to be dishing out. This gives them a survivability very high at the later stages. They might be very weak at the beginning and might feel more a utility-based player, but at the end, they are going to be the heroes of the story. This brings us into topic number 3. What level do you want to start your players off at? That is fairly easy. You could start them off at level 1, whether they have not adventured at all or they are just starting their very first adventure trying to figure out who they are and what they're comfortable with. At the very end of the campaign, you're going to find yourself fighting a CR of 30, a dragon that has 5 heads. Now, in this module, it talks about being level 15 at the very end, but a level 15 character is going to have a hard time fighting a CR of 30 demigod that has 5 heads and 5 breath weapons. So this brings me to the next part of this topic. You do not have to follow every single rule in this campaign or inside this book. You might want to end the character's progression at around level 18. But that is also going to give you a little bit more work to do. When you are trying to get them to level 18, this campaign does not give you enough adventure substance in order to get you there. That is where the Dungeon Master's creativity comes into play. You're going to have to start adding in other quests that are going to get them to this level. Topic number 4. The pitfalls of this campaign are very simple. It is linear, and it feels almost a railroad style of campaign. This is where the Dungeon Master is going to have to do a little bit of creative work in order to make the players feel as if this is not a story that the players are only along for the ride. That is the other part of this campaign. When the players start to realize that they are on the heels of the cultists the entire time, you're going to find them saying, well, if I'm just chasing after them, then what's the point? So you're going to want to give them some incentive that is going to show that they are actually an important factor in trying to stop them from summoning this demigod. That leads us into topic number 5, the pace of this game. You can do one of two things. You can keep the pace the same as what the book actually kind of dictates, or you can speed things up. This campaign with these 2 books could last over a year, but being a dungeon master or being the players, they may not feel as if they want to play this game for an entire year. They have other campaigns or other stories or other characters that they may want to play. So you can speed things up. You can change how the events move along. This is very important because these things that you want to show the players may take some time. The role-playing may be very extensive, but the way that you manipulate time is going to be a important factor in how this campaign feels. Do you want the travel to be long and arduous, or do you want it to say, oh, you make it to the next town within 5 days and nothing really happens? But that brings us into the next topic. Topic number 6. The NPCs that your players are going to meet. Now, this is where I have a lot of fun because I enjoy playing multiple NPCs. I love having different voices, showing different attitudes, and giving them the breadth that they actually deserve. Now, in this campaign, or I should say in the Horde of the Dragon Queen or Rise of Tiamat, they have 25 different people that you're going to have the players meet. They are in different towns and they are part of different factions. Show those different towns or different factions a different style or a different feel for every place that they go to. Each person has their own motives and their own wants and needs. They are part of a collective group of people that have a specific agenda that they want to meet. So give them that chance. Show these players that each NPC has their own life, their own thing that they're going after. You don't want to have one NPC sound exactly the same as another NPC. The immersion into this world, fighting dragons, stopping cultists, meeting different factions around the entire area of Faerun is really exciting because this shows the open world immersiveness of Dungeons and Dragons. Even though this campaign might feel a little linear at times, you can then show that different areas of the world are actually still moving and working and trying to survive on their own while all heck is breaking loose. In conclusion, this is a 2-part campaign that is a race against time. Now, every Dungeon Master is different, so every single time that this campaign is run, it will have a slightly different feel. But the one thing that you may want to keep in mind is that every single moment that they stand still, you're going to want to emphasize the idea or the concept that something else is going to happen if they do not make a choice. The cultists are always one step ahead of them. So always give them that feel. Time is of the essence. Tiamat is going to be summoned whether they like it or not. Give them that story. The story that Tiamat is not waiting for anyone. So until next time, have fun adventuring.